My name is Eric Williams. I'm 34 years old, and until last year, I never believed in urban legends, dimensional shifts, or places that exist between realities. But that changed when I spent one night in a hotel room that shouldn't exist. It happened in Denver, Colorado. I was traveling for work, exhausted after a delayed flight and a canceled reservation. Every hotel near the airport was fully booked due to a convention in town. Frustrated, I found myself walking through the cold streets with my luggage, trying to find any place with a vacancy. That's when I saw it. A narrow alley led to a building I hadn't noticed before. It was a tall, narrow hotel with faded letters above the entrance that read the Halcyon Inn. The neon sign buzzed faintly, casting a sickly yellow glow. It wasn't listed on Google Maps. In fact, my phone showed no location for where I was standing. Desperate, I stepped inside. The lobby was old but pristine. Wooden floors, velvet armchairs, a chandelier that looked like it hadn't been dusted in years. Behind the counter, an elderly woman greeted me with a polite smile.
"One night?"
she asked, her voice almost a whisper. I nodded. She handed me a brass key with the number 36 engraved on it. No ID check, no credit card, just the key. As I made my way up the narrow staircase, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was ... wrong. The air felt heavy, silent. Not the normal quiet you expect in a hotel, but an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow every sound I made. Even my footsteps were muffled, as if the carpet was absorbing them more than it should. When I reached room 36, the hallway was dimly lit. The door was slightly ajar. I hesitated, but exhaustion pushed me forward. I entered. The room was immaculate. An old queen-sized bed with crisp white sheets, a small desk, and a window that showed nothing but darkness. Not the city skyline, not streetlights, just black. I placed my bag down and turned on the TV. Static, no channels. My phone had no signal. Wi-Fi networks weren't even listed. The digital clock on the nightstand blinked 00:00, frozen. That's when I noticed the sound, rather the lack of it. No cars outside, no humming of appliances, no distant voices. It was as if I had stepped into a vacuum. I sat on the bed trying to shake off the unease, but the silence was crushing. My own heartbeat felt loud, too loud. I tried to open the window, but it wouldn't budge. The glass felt warm, as if something on the other side was pressing against it. When I turned back to the room, the door was closed. I didn't remember closing it. I decided to leave. Enough was enough. But when I grabbed the doorknob, it wouldn't turn. It was stuck, cold to the touch. I pounded on the door. No response. The walls seemed to absorb the sound. I shouted silence. Panic set in. I tried calling the front desk, but the phone was dead. My cell phone was useless. That's when the atmosphere changed. The light in the room dimmed subtly, as if a shadow had passed through, yet nothing moved. And then the mirror. A large mirror on the wall across the bed began to fog up from the inside. Words appeared slowly, as if written by an unseen hand. "You're not supposed to be here." My heart raced. I backed away, bumping into the nightstand. The clock now read 3:06 a.m. The walls began to feel closer. The silence turned into a high-pitched hum, barely audible, but maddening. I opened the closet, hoping for some hidden exit, but inside there was nothing but an old, tattered coat that smelled of mold. I turned back to the room, and that's when I saw it. A figure stood in the corner near the window. Its silhouette was faint, like a reflection that had escaped the mirror. Tall, slender, its head tilted unnaturally. It didn't move, it didn't breathe. But I knew it was watching me. Its presence was overwhelming, pressing against my chest, making it hard to breathe. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and when I opened them, the figure was gone. But the mirror wasn't done. New words appeared. "The exit is below." I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my bag and rushed out the door. This time it opened, but the hallway was not the same. The floor was warped, the walls bending inward, as if the building itself was breathing. I ran down the stairs, but the lobby was gone. Instead, I found myself in a narrow corridor that spiraled downward. The walls were lined with old photographs, but the faces in the photos were blurred, twisted, as if they were screaming silently. The further down I went, the colder it became. The silence was replaced by whispers. They weren't in my ears, they were in my head. Fragmented sentences, unfinished words, looping endlessly. At the bottom of the staircase, I reached a door, heavy metal door, rusted and bolted. It wasn't locked. I pushed it open. On the other side was the alley where I had first found the hotel. But something was different. The air felt normal. Street sounds returned. My phone buzzed with notifications. I looked back. The door was gone. No sign of the Halcyon Inn. Just a brick wall, as if the entrance had never existed. I stumbled back onto the main street, disoriented. Okay, people passed by, oblivious. I had been gone for what felt like hours. Yet according to my phone, it had only been 17 minutes since I entered that alley. I went straight back to my original hotel. This time they had a cancellation. Checked in, locked the door, and sat in silence. But the silence wasn't the same. Even now, weeks later, every time I close my eyes, I see the mirror, the words, the figure. And at 3:06 a.m., no matter where I am, my phone loses signal. Just for a minute, as if the hotel is reminding me. Still there.